So I want to make a statement about something, and I was trying to make some talking notes. I'm not very good at that sort of thing. I just speak off the top of my head what I think, and I find that's easier for me. So I've had a number of people reach out to me and ask me, who is this Andrew Brant? Who is this Sha'tekayenton? Who is this credible Mohawk? And a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, what's up with this guy? He's always shit talking you. And what's up with this Andrew Brant? He's saying all kind of things that you're not the war chief and all kind of stuff. Saying you're whatever, pervert or whatever, I don't know. Well, I'd like to first of all apologize that I didn't address this sooner. To be quite honest with you, I didn't think he was significant enough to give him the time, because he's such a insignificant player in the grand scheme of things, of all the issues and effort and things that we've been moving forward with, and rehabilitating our governance structure and resisting colonial oppression and taking back our land and these sort of things. He was a fairly insignificant player for most of his life. So I didn't want to give him much attention, because I felt like if I gave him attention that I would give him more of an audience of people to listen to him. And so I thought that if I just ignored him, that he would go away, he would settle out, and he'd find somebody else to bother. But I did do that, and then that's what's happened. He's found someone else to bother, and he's causing harm in our nation. And so I'm feeling like I'm compelled to speak out about what's happening. So I'll be straightforward and quite honest. I have not watched all of the YouTube videos and whatever articles or whatever he wrote or said about me as an individual. Because first of all, when you listen to hurtful things, lies people are telling you, it can bother you. It can bother your heart and disrupt your way of thinking. And so I try not to allow those things to get crept into my mind and affect me and put out my day or disrupt my family life or even my political life. So I really haven't spent very much time paying attention to this guy and the kind of things that he said about me. But others have come to me upset with the things that he said, and have asked me, particularly the other Warrior Society members, have asked me to address the kind of things he was saying. So he blocked me on everything, so I don't really have access to whatever it is that he's posting out there. But I can say a story, because I had an epiphany last night. I was thinking about some things about this guy, because people were asking me questions, and they're talking about what's been going on, because he's spreading a great deal of misinformation and innuendos about Schuyler Williams and about myself. And he's enlisted the help of some reformed white supremacist. I think that's funny. And some other fella, I don't even know who he is. I believe he's some sort of rapper or something. I don't know. I don't know him at all. Anyways, so Sha'tekayenton. I apologize I didn't talk about this sooner, and I probably should have. So when I met this kid, what had happened was he was a teenager, and he was going through family abuse. His parents were always not getting along with one another, and his father was abusive towards his mother, as well as his adopted sisters, two girls that I knew that grew up in the community. They were friends of my sister, and his father was mean to them, like all of them. He's this angry fella doing crazy things, and so what happened was this kid, he's growing up. They're basically Christians, like for Christmas and Easter and all that sort of stuff, and doing the regular thing. I think mom was a teacher or whatever, and I don't really know. Following with the regular program that was laid out for all the Indigenous people in Canada to just assimilate. But it was at a time when there was change happening in our community, and so the family began to have a shift during the 1990 crisis and stuff. His grandmother got involved in what was happening in Akwesasne, and involved in the Longhouse stuff. And he had an uncle who was actually quite close to me that I knew quite well in the Bear Clan, and I got to know him too, and I learned lots of things from him. Anyways, I'm telling this story because what happened was I didn't really know this kid in the Longhouse, but he got sick and his hair all fell out. It turned white and it all fell out. I think you call that alopecia, and it's commonly happens to people when they're under high stress. They call it it's an immune disorder, and your body fights against itself. So he got all his hair fell out, and they got a reading done. He went to a reader, I guess, and they said that he needed to get medicine, ceremony, for him to help him. So they come, and at the time I was one of the main ones taking care of that stuff, medicine, the society for our community. And they asked me to come and organize that and come and put medicine through for him. And I was reluctant to do that stuff because they weren't Longhouse people, but I was okay with it. Okay, we'll go. We're not going to deny anybody help, So we went there and we put that medicine through and everything. And I actually didn't even go back in the house. We went in, did the medicine, and then we left. And I didn't go back inside. I didn't even actually reveal myself at that time. And some of the people that were around them and spend time with them, my friend, I have a dear friend, he encouraged me. He said, this kid is Andrew. He's Andrew Brant. He can see things. He's got the gifts to be a reader, and he needs somebody to teach him. He needs to learn about our ceremonies and our medicine and what are the symptoms and all sorts of stuff. And they were bothering me, harassing me to take his kid in under my wing and to teach him, to share with him what I was learning about. And I was a bit reluctant to do that. I'm not sure why. I just had a reluctancy, but I did it anyways. It's okay. So I got to know this kid a little bit and teaching him things, and so that's what happened. And then there was some time passed, and we were developing stuff within the Longhouse community here, and there was things changing. The tobacco industry was starting to rise, and there was fights that were going on, fighting for land rights and hunting and fishing rights, and the Longhouse was starting to get organized, and there was a political move to shift the focus of the energy of the Longhouse community to look at our governance, to begin repairing our nation's development. So that included installing leadership. It meant taking control of education and establishing a language school and talking about the issuing of ID. And so it came to a point where we were trying to get the Longhouse built, and there was an argument or a discrepancy that happened in the Longhouse over building the Longhouse, and there was some money that went unaccounted for, and so there was some political shifting. There was things happening, people moving in and out of responsibilities and jobs, and new people being put into those, and shift of older people with younger people, and those sort of things were occurring at that time. I guess this would have been either the late 90s or the early 2000s, I guess, is when this happened. I'm not quite sure on the dates. This is important, though, because this involves Sha'tekayenton. That's what they ended up naming him at the Longhouse. At one point, they named him Sha'tekayenton. His English name is Andrew Brant, but he's a Turtle Clan. His mom's Turtle Clan, and his auntie, she was Turtle Clan. I remember her. She lived on our road, and his cousins. And I have a great deal of love and respect for them, for those people. They were instrumental in helping to revitalize the language, and I actually have a fairly close relationship with many of his cousins and nieces. Lived in my house even, and I love those kids. Anyways, there was a new war chief got installed. There was an old one, and he had there was things that happened politically, and he had was going to under surgery, and he had a hearing impairment, great deal of hearing impairment. He couldn't hear what was happening in the business in the council because he couldn't hear across the floor and what was happening, and so we retired him, and we thanked him for all his work. His name was his Indian name was Kanenhariyo, and his English name was Patrick Miracle, and I spent hundreds of hours with him. I spent a great deal of time in studying Kanenhariyo and talking to him and going and helping him and working, making syrup and making snow snakes and all kind of things. And on many occasions he sent me to speak on his behalf or go to listen on his behalf and report back what was going on as a kind of like a little deputy, I guess, or a runner for him as a war chief, because he was going to get the goal over here, was the head of the men. And so I had that experience with him. So at this time, what happened was that he got released of his responsibilities so that he could focus on his health and his well-being, and we installed a new goal, and his name was Kanenhariyo, and his English name was Jason Miracle, and he became the new war chief for a time. And so one day, well, after that all occurred, there was a wampum made, People's Council Fire wampum, and they furnished that to kindle the People's Council Fire here, to rekindle the Mohawk Nation Council, as a part of that process of establishing our hereditary governance structure. There's several council fires that exist within the Mohawk Nation and within the Kanenhariyo. There's a council fire for the Sha'tekayenton. That's all the men, and they can meet at any time, gather up and meet if there's some sort of calamity. And there's a council fire of the women, and the women can get together and meet and talk about things if there's some sort of issues going on. And jointly, there's a council fire, they say, that's ever burning, and it's the council of the men and women together, the people, and that the people know at any time, if the chief's council, the member leadership of the clans of our nation, or the member clan leadership of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, if ever they get together and they have a meeting and they pass some sort of a decision that the people don't like, or is contrary to what they were instructed to within their clans, or there's some sort of great calamity that arises that has to be addressed very quickly, the People's Council can come together and they can form a council and to meet on it, and they can overturn any decision that the clan chiefs have made at the nation or at the Confederacy level. So we decided at that time that it made the most sense amongst the people here to rekindle and to establish that fire, so that we can make decisions together as we reorganize our clans and to be able to find the proper leadership as clan mothers and chiefs. And so that council was strung, and those beads were put together, and women from each of the clans came together and they strung that. And there were beads that represented the women, and they're all white, and there was beads that represent the men, and they were all black. And this string of wampum was made. And I was present at that time. In fact, I was the one that burned tobacco and put the words into that string of beads. I was there. I was the one holding them. Anyways, some time had passed and we were working on these kind of issues. We had built a hunting and fishing card, and we were working to issue to all of our members so that people could hunt and fish without being harassed, and so that they didn't have to show a Indian Act status card to prove that they're Indians. That they could have an ID that said, I got the right to hunt and fish in my territory, and my people support it back then. So we built that, and we were working at the clans were working at it to start to issue an ID like a red card, but a Mohawk Nation one, and one that is unique to here, this community in our nation. And there was beginning to be a bit of a political struggle about that. There was opposition. There was people that weren't particularly supportive of that, moving in that direction. And I think, I was fairly young at the time. I think I was in my early 20s. But I think what was going on was that there was some fear that when we get into that kind of business, that it can cause people to get into conflict. It's a very different thing than just tending to who's gonna sing, moccasin dance and who's gonna take care of the strawberry festival. When you start getting into things like ID and governance and licensing and adoptions and all that sort of real life business, and that was where things were starting to head, and it was creating some turmoil. There was some rough road, rocky water, I guess. And so this is a tough story to tell. I don't actually think I ever told it really anywhere, but I'm telling it because it's important. So there was some animosity that was rising, and one day I got a phone call from the war chief, Kanenhariyo. And he said, come over to the house here. I need to talk to you about something. I said, okay. So I went there to the longhouse, or to his house. And it was a bit of a drive for me because I didn't live nearby. I was about 45 minutes away. So it was a bit of a trek to get there. So I went there. What's going on? And when I got there, he was there at his kitchen table, and there was another fellow there. Andrew Brant Sha'tekayenton, Sha'tekayenton, and he was sitting at the table. And if I remember correctly, there was another fellow there as well, another warrior, a guy I grew up with, a good friend of mine. His name is Dahnodawaks, and he's a good hunter and fisherman. Dahnodawaks. And he was present at the meeting as well. Well, that's at this house, at Sha'tekayenton's house. I guess it wasn't really a meeting. It was just a few of us showed up over there, so he asked us to. So I went over there, and he said to me, something happened. And I said, oh, what's that? He says, at the festival today, the ceremonies today, I had to leave early. I had an appointment. I think he might have had a dentist appointment. And Sha'tekayenton has a little bit of he don't like dentists, so it's an anxiety thing for him. So he left a little bit early so he could go deal with his dentist appointment. If I remember correctly, it was an appointment anyways. So he wasn't able to stay. And so he asked someone, and I don't recall now who it was that he asked to pick up the council flyer, the wampum string, because he was the one protecting that. He was the one entrusted with the responsibility to protect that for on behalf of the people, so that when the people, whenever they have official business, they would hang that wampum up to know that it's official. And so when we're doing the Kanenhariyo, the 4 sacred ceremonies, or when you're naming babies, or when you're doing a wedding and you're affirming that this was official business, they'll come and hang that wampum up. And so this time there was ceremonies going on, and so they had hung that up because there was official business going on. And so he asked somebody to pick it up for him. And so he did that. And when he went to go and get it, he was told that he didn't have it. Whoever it was he sent to get it, whoever it was he asked to pick it up. And that apparently what happened was that there was this other lady, a woman, and there had been some, like, over the years, people would say that they didn't trust her. And so she went and she took the People's Council fire that day and took it home with her. And so this is the story he told me in front of Andrew Brant, and I remember Kanenhariyo was there. And he said that he went to her house and went to get it, and I believe at this time they had a little bit of words, and he got them wampum beads, and between the two of them they had words about issuing licensing and doing IDs, and there was some issues around maybe licensing or doing something for tobacco licenses for manufacturing cigarettes here. And she was opposed to that kind of stuff being done, and said we don't need to get into the same problems that they're having at Akwesasne. And he shared that with me. So he said he had a bad feeling that she had done something, because we were trying to get business taken care of. That we kept meeting at having the people's meetings and trying to get business done and finish up this issue in our own ID, the red cards, and it kept turning into a big argument, and people were getting upset and leaving one another and not being able to get our business finished. And so he told me that he contacted Sha'tekayenton, Andrew Brant, and he asked him to come, and he gave him the wampum beads, and he asked if there was anything happening to them, was anything on them or something. And so Andrew Brant told him he read the beads, he felt the energy, and he used his fortune-telling skills, and he said that this woman, that she put graveyard dust on the People's Council fire, and she put bad medicine, black magic, on the council fire, and to cause it so that no one could make any decisions, and they couldn't, that the people wouldn't be able to move forward, and they couldn't do the work. And you need to know that this woman's brother was a lifetime Iroquois and Allied Indians caucus guy, and lifetime band council guy, right? So this association of the family, and her mother was a prominent, strong Christian, and so she was kind of breaking away from that, participating in the longhouse and that sort of thing, and I always known her to be someone who was pretty adamant to try to adhere to our way of things. Anyways, so this is what we were told, and I was kind of shocked about this. And they said, well, they suggested maybe that we need to go over there and confront her or go and do something. And I didn't think that was a good idea. I didn't want to go over and go on a witch hunt. I wasn't interested in going on a witch hunt and I didn't want to see our political agenda move to like what the Pilgrims did when they came here and started burning women. You know, I didn't want to see that our political way go shift in that direction. That's not what Kanenhariyo is about, and that's not how I got taught about how we make decisions. And so I said, well, listen, I sort of think that I think we should call all the heads of the women, like all the heads of the families. So the heads of the clans and the families are women. And you need to call them. I think we should call them and inform them about this, and then they can have some input about how to proceed forward or what to do about this accusation and situation, and also like what's happening, because there's political strife occurring. So we contacted the women, and there was Shelley Brant, and my Aunt Carol Green, and Jan Hill, and Sha'tekayenton's mother might even have been there, Tracy. I'm not sure though. I'm not 100% sure. And maybe my mother. I don't remember if my mom was present or not. And then Sohio, of course, and Andrew Brant Sha'tekayenton, and myself. And I think I said Carol Ann Miracles there as well. That was Patrick, the previous war chief's wife. She was in attendance too. And so they all gathered, and then that's what they got told, that there was a belief that this woman, Wolf Clan woman, that she took the council fire and that she put graveyard dust on there. I guess it's dirt from the graveyard, and that she put medicine on the people's council fire so that they couldn't make any decisions. They couldn't come together to disunify them. And the conversation, was kind of heavy, right? And so I reminded them. I said, "Wait, before anything gets decided or anything like that," I said, "I want to remind everybody that we came across this thing before, and there's a story here that happened in the turn of the century. It was when they brought the Indian Act here, and there was a fellow who, according to the story, there was a fellow who was a pro-Indian Act guy, and he was really encouraging everybody to abandon Kanenhariyo Goa, to abandon our system, our system of governance, and to abandon our culture and our language, and to adhere to the Indian Act, and to pick up the church." And he was a friend and a proponent with the Indian agent. And so that time it got so hard, they burnt the longhouse down. They burnt the council house where the people would meet down. The people themselves did that, so that the Indian Act chief and council, the minister, or the Indian agent, and this guy, I can't remember his name or whether or not he was on council or not, but he was accused of using medicine to influence the people, and he was using medicine against the people, and everybody said he was a witch, and he was a Christian. And so they hired, the Longhouse people hired these three men who were from three different medicine societies, to kill him. And so they took that fella to the swamp over here. It's just over here behind my house, not far, across the road. And they clubbed him to death. And while they were clubbing him to death, he called out to this big snake that lives in the swamp here. There's a big snake, Kanenhariyo Goa, and it's a charm that protects the community, protects the land here. There's a couple of them, and they live in the bay and in Lake Ontario and St. Lawrence, and come up in the swamp here. And the story goes that he called out to that creature, and he called out to it to protect him. And he called out and he told them what the Longhouse people were doing, killing him. And then he asked for it to never allow the Longhouse people to rise, that the Longhouse would never come back here, and that our ways would die out. And this is what he was saying, calling for and calling on, while they clubbed him to death, and they killed him, and they left him in the swamp. And the result of that was that the Longhouse people went underground, and they're persecuted by the Christians. And that happened here in Kanenhariyo. And I know some of the families, that the families of those three men, they ended up all leaving. And then when they stayed here, they had horrible lives. They had bad health issues. They had all kinds of things happen. So they scattered and went to the city, went to Toronto, and went to Hamilton, and went to Buffalo, and stayed away from here. And in the late 90s, some of those family members returned here, and they had issues. They had trouble. It was hard for them. Not because people remembered, but the spiritual things. So I reminded them, those women and the people there that time, about that story, and that I encouraged them to not to take this thing like don't be frivolous about it, and be careful about how we deal with it. That we want to be careful and not follow in the same path that happened in the past, because of how much damage it caused. But to also be aware that if it is the case that somebody's actively working to stop revitalization, then we need to be due diligent about how we address it, right? Like this was a serious matter. But I was worried that we're so young and revitalizing our governance structure that we might turn down the path of the witch hunters and do horrible things, out of lack of practice, or out of being convinced that this is the way you should handle things. So Sha'tekayenton was in the center of this matter, and he is the one who said she did it, and then it's caused quite a stir. It caused a stir so much that it divided our community. It divided the Longhouse. And to this day, we're divided. To this day, there are people that don't speak to one another. And it completely divided the Longhouse community. Because what happened was, we had a big council meeting, and she was confronted about this. And they wanted to, they decided, those head women talked, and they said, well, we're going to have to go and meet with our clans. And I believe how it went, and I heard this from my aunties and stuff, was that afterward, Caroline, the Wolf Clan lady, she went to her sister, Bonnie, the one that was being accused of this, and told her what was being said. And so then people gathered up to meet about it, and there was people were starting to take sides in the matter instead of just trying to address the thing. And so they had a council meeting, and I was in attendance. I was sitting in the back, and there was Wolf Clan people there, and Turtle Clan people there, and Bear Clan people there. In fact, all the women that were in attendance at that meeting were all present, if I recall, and all their families and their clans, all the regular attendees in the Longhouse people, they were all present. And I believe Sha'tekayenton, Andrew Brant, was present, sitting with the Turtle Clan as well that day, if I remember correctly. And so it was brought forward by all the clans, Wolf Clan and Turtle Clan and Bear Clan, that what they wanted to do was they wanted to have a representative from each of the three clans travel with her, with this lady, and take her to go and see another reader, maybe a couple of them, and not tell them what was being said, but to see what they had to say, if there was anything. I think there was a hope to kind of clear her name, and also address what this issue was that was being said, it was being accused of. And I think I was a little bit naive to see that maybe there was another backstory going on. I mean, maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Maybe there was. Maybe it was a backstory about getting this politics done or getting this tobacco stuff done. I don't actually know. I don't think so, though. But But in retrospect, I think to myself, maybe that was a play involved in it. But at the time, I wasn't aware of that. Anyways, that woman said no way she was going to do that. And so then they proposed, and Sahil was the one who said it. He proposed that to take a lock of her hair, and they sent 3 representatives to go see Reader in 6 Nations. And she said no way she was going to do that. She wasn't going to let anybody do that. And so then he said, well, you're leaving me no choice. You're not giving us any option to be able to clear your name about this. And so, you're not willing to work with the clans who are all here trying to address this issue together. And so, I have to take your name and kick you out of the, expel you, banish you from our nation. And so that's what he did. And he announced that, and he did it. And it was sent shockwaves through the Mohawks, particularly in our community. And then we had a few meetings after that, and a few festivals after that, and people began to fall away. It caused things to begin to disintegrate a bit. And then there was some meetings, and there was a big women's meeting, and then the Wolf Clan. I wasn't present, of course, because it's a women's meeting. A Wolf Clan women and a Bear Clan women got in a big argument because they wanted to take Sahil, who was the war chief, who was also Bear Clan, and when he was installed, it was supposed to be that after 6 months of him being in that position, that they would re-examine it and either decide to keep him there or they would find someone new. They were kind of giving him a little probationary period. Well, it had been quite a bit longer than that, like over a year and a half, and then they met on it. And the Wolf Clan and the Bear Clan got in a big argument because the Wolf Clan wanted to remove him from office and to return Patrick back to office. And the Bear Clan was not in agreement to return Patrick back to office. They said there's no way they're going to agree to that. And they had a number of reasons. And so they got arguing so much that they, and I believe that they said really harsh things to one another. Again, I wasn't there. I just remember what my aunties told me. And they were so hurt by what was said and done that they refused to meet with them anymore. They said, we're not going to meet with them until they apologize or until whatever, I don't know. I remember Shelley Brant and my aunt Carol, and I believe my mom was present, and I don't know who else, other Bear Clan women, but that's what happened. And so we've been divided ever since. The community got completely divided. And for a while, when we got divided like that, the one group that were like the one lady supporters or whatever, they were having the ceremonies and doing their things. And then the Bear Clan and ones kind of like, I guess it kind of got divided between the people that wanted to have the ceremonies and get the program money, and then the people that wanted to do the ceremonies and be politically independent. That's what happened. It kind of divided. And so Sha'tekayenton, Andrew Brant, kind of was in this group with the rest of us that were wanting to move forward and to be independent and divided. And then everybody kind of fell apart. There was things happened. My auntie died and passed away, and they struggled. And because they were broken, this causes huge disunity. And Sha'tekayenton got together with this girl, and he became an alcoholic, from what I understand. Is what his family, his sisters told me and stuff. And he experienced similar sort of like outbursts and those sort of things. I had kind of had a bit of a falling out with him. While this was going on, at the same time this was going on, or it started, I guess it was a bit time afterward, not a lot, but a few years. Um, my business partner and I, who was Swahili, was the war chief. Him and I, we started a little store, a little drive-through smoke shop and coffee shop. We started this little store together. And one of our first employees when we opened this little store was Andrew Brant Sha'tekayenton. He must have been late teens, early 20s, and we were a bit older. I'm not sure how much older I am to him, but I'm a bit older. I think maybe 5 or 6 years, 7, 8 years maybe. I'm not sure. Anyways, we hired him and to come and work for us at our store. He was one of our first employees, and so he was working for us for a while, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then we were checking over our paperwork and our accounting, and we found out, we caught it that Andrew Brant had been stealing from our business, and he had stole like $3,000 or $4,000, and we were just a fledgling business. We'd only been open for a couple of months, 3 or 4 months, and he had robbed us like $3,000 or $4,000. That was a lot of money for us at the time. And so he and I, we had to confront him about this. A little store was called Smoke and Coffee Express. And we confronted him and we said, "What are you doing? Like, you stole from us. Why did you do that?" And he was pretty smug about it. He said, "Yeah, I did." He said, I needed money for a new car, so I took it. And so we had no choice but to let him go. We fired him. And so I didn't have any relationship with him for a real long time after that. He stole from me, and he didn't have any remorse about it whatsoever. So anyway, so then, we kept as our clan taking over and doing our business and whatever, and eventually, I fell away from him. I didn't know what was going on. And then a couple of times his family would reach out, or his cousin or whatever, and were worried about him, or he would call me up out of the blue, maybe a couple times over the course of a decade or two. And he called me up in a crisis time when he was trying to quit drinking, not being an alcoholic, and wanting to learn, and that he was having these visions, and he was having the experiences going on, and wanting help. And I always told him that he needed to go to Six Nations or to maybe to Seneca country, and I even tried to line him up with a couple people that I knew to train him. I originally wanted to have him lined up with an old man named Muff Mitts, and for Muff Mitts to train him, but Muff Mitts passed away long before Andrew Brant was ever in any mental state or desire or want to go and learn about that stuff. So I tried to do that a couple times, and it didn't ever pan out. He'd get all weird and not really make any sense, and then he'd wander off. One time he came and stayed at my house for a week or so, and he just used my place and a place to eat or whatever, and then he ran off to go be alcoholic again. And so then the stuff of the tracks occurred in February of 2020, and the train got stopped. There was an economic embargo, and we began to form strengthened alliances with hereditary leadership of the Wet'suwet'en, who had very similar political line to the Mohawks, that were independent and separate from Canada, and this is our land, and we don't approve of what you're doing, and invading on us or invading on them. And so we started to strengthen our relationship, and at that time is when Sha'tekayenton, Andrew Brant, he showed up down there. He was making a presence. He'll come by, bring some coffee or something, or come visit for an hour or so, and he seemed to have an interest to want to be around. And he had claimed he had sobered up. He wasn't drinking, I guess, and he seemed like he was in a little bit better state of mind. And so he come around a little bit, and there was some sort of incident that happened. I'm not exactly sure. And he he got hurt feelings or something. Something one of my brothers said to him. I don't actually remember what the incident was, what occurred, but it sticks out in my mind because he got upset about it, and then he had reached out to his clan members and my mother of my youngest daughter. She reached out to me, and he was touching base with her, like checking in with her on a regular basis. They're the same clan, so he was checking in with her about his life and his things going on. I mean, the way what she's supposed to inside in an operating clan sort of operates situation, because your clan is a group of people that look out for you, your family. It's not a patch you wear on your sleeve or a necklace or a ring or something like that. And it's not a spirit animal, That's I think people think that sometimes. Oh, my spirit animal, my clan. That's the same thing. It's not. I don't know what a spirit animal is. I think that got made up by Walt Disney or something like that. But maybe that's some people's culture, but certainly it's not ours. And what? Oh, go ahead.
Well, come into the camera.
An animal that guides you.
An animal that guides you. I see. So he started coming around, and I noticed that he'd come down and stand around for a few minutes and visit with everybody, maybe say a few words or whatever. But more often, I seen him taking a selfie or a photo of himself, or at least that's what I thought was going on. And then he'd leave. I never noticed him to be there very much or very long or whatever. And I was busy. There was a lot of stuff going on at that time, just kind of managing all the politics and all the things that had to get tended to. Anyways, through that process, we seemed to get to be like more speaking to one another again. And after the tracks stuff, kind of closed up. By that time, I'd been approached and was going to get to a meeting, and I was asked to take on the responsibility of the war chief, and I accepted that, and then that got brought to a meeting at the Longhouse, and the other side of the house, women were addressed, and it was announced that this was what was the will of the men to do, and all the due process that that occurs and making that finalizing that happened, and then they sat me in the middle of the Longhouse in front of everybody and put through all the words and asked me to accept them and take on that responsibility, and even had some people from Mohawk Longhouse, Akwesasne, came, and they witnessed it that this happened, and so that's what happened, and I became the war chief. That's pretty simple. There's no fantasy about it, and there's no that's what happened. There's a bunch of people who are unaware of that process because they're not part of Longhouse, and they don't live within the confines and the connections of Kanenhariyo, or they weren't participating at the time when that stuff was all happening, and hadn't been involving themselves. There's a whole bunch of factors, and anyway, so that's what happened. And I've been asked about it. I've spoke about it a few times. I don't feel like it's something that needs to be constantly reviewed, but I'm bringing it up because apparently this Andrew Brant, he's been producing these, I don't know if it's TikTok or YouTube videos or what it is, I don't really know. I don't pay attention to the guy. But and I don't pay attention to him because he's kind of rotten, saying all kind of nasty things and not being dishonest. And so I, for my own mental health and for what's in the best interest of all the, everybody, I just try to keep distance. I don't want to be affected by that. But from what I understand and what was brought to my attention, people asked me to speak about it, to address the fact that he has been saying that I wasn't the war chief, or due process wasn't done, or I don't know exactly. And I actually didn't watch the videos or whatever he's accusing of, and I didn't feel like it was need to be done, and so I didn't. So anyway, so that's what happened, and I'm carrying that job and still doing the job. And there's a process. If when I accepted that responsibility, I respected it. I accepted it with some conditions, that I have the opportunity that if I wish to give that job back, that I can do that without there being any prejudice, without there being any shame associated with it. I can simply ask to be released from that, back to the and then we can select somebody new. And my son had asked that he was worried that he'd lose his father, that he wouldn't have a dad to be there for him, because I'd be so busy with everybody else's business. And sometimes that actually happens, and it's tough, and we have to manage all that. But even like this stuff right now, we're dealing with all this fallout of these accusations and attacks on sovereignty and frontline fighters and so on. And so I'm spending the whole day working on all the business associated with this, and instead of being hanging out with my kids. So this is the kind of things that my son was concerned about, and so we work hard at it to make sure things don't happen. But he had said, well, I don't know that I want this to be a permanent thing. So what was said was that put me in this job for now, and while we're dealing with all the tracks and all that stuff, and after all that stuff gets finished up, we can revisit this. That's an option, to be able to revisit this. So we're still all embroiled in all the charges and all the fight associated with the tracks thing. It's a couple of years, and we're still carrying on with that, and so that's not even an issue to really be brought up right now. And we're still dealing with all the other issues. It wasn't as isolated to just the tracks as the nation as a whole. And so I'm doing the job just the way I'm supposed to. And exactly the words that were said to me, I'm following them. And Sha'tekayenton wasn't present, but he run his mouth like he knows what he's talking about, and he don't know at all what he's talking about. And I ignored him because I felt like if I gave him attention about it, that was what he was looking for, and that would put more eyes on him and build up his little podcast. Because I think what was going on was, I think that when we were at the tracks, he was showing up down there because he was believing that he was a frontline activist and warrior society, like main fella. But I've never known that guy to be involved in nothing my whole life. All the places and all the trouble and things that I was involved in, he didn't participate in those things. And anybody that knows me, well, and I'm not there's no need to be braggy or whatever, or I don't know, counting coup or whatever. That's not how I roll. So, but that's what happened. And so I think he was, when I was seeing him with his cell phone out taking selfies, I think what was going on was that he was beginning to build his social media podcast and his performance, and doing his thing, trying to make a living from it. And but I really wasn't paying attention to that, because I was busy doing the work, right? Like worrying about how we're going to feed people and protect people and fight back, and all the political lines had to be done, and the meetings and all that stuff. I didn't have time to be making a personal Facebook profile for my new podcast, right? Like how busy was stuff. So I think that's what was going on, and that's carried it forward. And so he created this thing called, I don't know, it's Credible Mohawk, or I think he's got something called Credible Mohawk Entertainment. He tried to build off of something when after the fact. Well, I'll talk about it. So he started hanging around my place and around me again after the tracks, and then he approached me. He had tried to start a little coffee business, and he was wanting to sell coffee, and he had this dream to have a little cafe where people would come hang out and talk about politics and talk about our culture and drink coffee. And So at the same time, I had a little coffee shop running. So I was listening to this, and I wanted to be supportive. And I said, well, why don't I try carrying your coffee in my coffee shop and promote it that, this carrying the name of his coffee brand. And so it was significantly more money than what I was buying at, at the wholesalers to sell for coffee. But I was trying to be supportive, so I said, well, let's give that a go. And I thought maybe the coffee brand would work for me, and it had a cool name, whatever. And then he was wanting to do some cross promoting between some of the stuff that I work on and things he was doing, and I thought that was kind of cool. And I want to be helpful, I want all our boats to float. So this is what I was supportive of, and then he offered he was donating some of his time at the have a little radio station, or I don't have it anymore. And he was volunteering there. I didn't have anybody in there. I couldn't afford to hire anybody. So we just had a software operating in a loop and broadcasting on a little transmitter I had in the community. And so he wanted to be able to go in there, once a day for a little while, go live on the radio and that sort of thing. And that was cool. And he started to work. We were talking about trying to see what we could do about getting some radio bingo going, that we could generate revenue for the radio station, and maybe we could be able to create a salary out of it or something. And he was struggling financially, I think, with his family, and his wife. She works at the band office. She's the economic development officer over at the band office, and so I think she's the main provider in the household, and he's been struggling to be able to bring in support, or at least at that time. Anyways, I don't know now. I haven't spoke to him much in over a year, but so that's what happened. And so for the summer, he hung around with that, doing that stuff, bit of the summer and into the fall, and then I had talked to him about potentially helping with a company I own called Real People's Media, and was trying to figure out how a way to integrate him into the work I was doing, and thinking that maybe he might be able to help with doing some editing, with some writing and that sort of stuff, and help with the political narrative and that sort of stuff. Because he had some experience, and we had spent some time teaching him when he was younger, so he kind of had an understanding about our laws and about the way the Longhouse kind of functions and that sort of stuff. He's got a general idea. He got some time to spend some time around, and like I'd said earlier, I had spent a bit of time trying to teach him, share with him what I grew up learning about and that sort of thing. And he was around Longhouse a little bit when he was in his late teens and early 20s kind of thing. So anyways, so that sort of happened, but then it was like it got weird, it got uncomfortable, it got odd, and started putting some effort in building a new studio and stuff, and I just kind of didn't like the way things are going. There was way too much, straight up, there was just way too much weed getting smoked while we were doing work and trying to get stuff done, and I don't like that. And I was saying I want things done in a certain way, and that was being disregarded, and other things were getting done instead. Simple stuff like, well, paint this wall this color and paint that like that, and then do it another way, and disregard what I was thinking. But that's my business, and I was the one paying for it, and so I don't like those sort of things. And then there was a couple incidents of a couple things that happened. There was a recording that was done. There was a fellow who got assaulted on the side of the road with the police, and he ran to my house, and I have a lot of people seen the video, and his name is Kanenhariyo, and the police come down there, and we had a bit of a, I had to diffuse the situation because it was getting out of hand or whatever. And so we had this video footage of that, and I didn't want to make that public. I was hoping that we were going to be able to settle things and go and speak with the chief of police, and him and I could discuss what transpired, and and see if we could come up with a solution. And so Andrew became privy to this information, and I said, "This is sensitive. I don't want this shared. Don't make this public, whatever." And allowed my sort of circle to see what had transpired, and I was trying to get myself organized to be able to address it, and what Andrew did was he took that and he took a caption, he took a screenshot of that video, and he made a meme that was provocative and inappropriate, and it instigated an argument or a fight, and he posted it without and he linked me to it and Real People's Media to do it and that sort of thing, and I didn't want that in the public because it was sensitive stuff, you know. And unfortunately, the consequence of that was, I think, that it set off a series of events. One of them being that the chief of police then made a public statement about what had transpired, and it was actually a lie. He lied. It was different than what he'd said to me, because he admitted to me openly that he had spoke to Officer Marcus and Barty, and Marcus told him that he had gotten angry and that he struck him because he was angry and he was upset. That's not what the official police report said. The official police report said that he had to strike him to get released from being dragged. Right? That's not true. That's not what happened. But it sparked things to go in a certain direction. And then we had Sean Brant make a bunch of silly posts saying that I was calling for the removal of the police, and it just instigated a whole bunch of bullshit that didn't need to happen, and it wasn't real. And it happened because of this meme. And so I confronted Andrew about that and said, like, you didn't listen. And I asked you specifically to keep this sensitive and that serious stuff, and you're fucking playing around and acting like it's a game, and it isn't. And it has serious implications, and it impacts people's lives. And he was offended, mad at me that I'd said, hey, you don't have no business to do that. And I said, I can't maintain this working relationship. You're not going to be able to work with inside my organization. You know, listen. And at the same time, I was my coffee business, my little store, drive-through store, was suffering. And so my manager came to me and said, listen, we can't afford to keep buying that coffee for that cost of it. And we're not selling enough for us to be worthwhile. So I'm just going to go back to what we were doing before and buy, the wholesaler's coffee, and I was like, well, that's okay. That's fine. Like, I mean, we have to manage what makes the most sense. Well, that all just spooled into this Andrew Brant making all kinds of accusations about me, that I tried to sabotage his business, that I tried to. He went on about the coffee thing because I didn't want to order anymore, and got angry at me because I didn't want to buy it, and it was too expensive, and it just didn't work, and that's not a big deal. That's just business. And then he was angry at me because I wouldn't put him up in a position of authority within my organization, my news company, but I couldn't do that. He didn't listen. He didn't have the capacity to be able to follow instructions. And then in addition to that, my little girl made a pretty little pictures. There was some artwork in my studio, and one of the things was a T-shirt that Sha'tekayenton, Andrew Brant's, I think his girlfriend made actually a T-shirt, and they used a common national symbol of a turtle with a tree on it. It's like a sort of iconic symbol. It gets used all over. You see it in people's beadwork, and you see it on books, and also notes, I think, printed it a number of times, posters, whatever. It's all over the place. The symbol of this tree with it growing off of a turtle, and so my little girl said, Dad, Bubby, I want to make phone cases for the store, and she said, I made some artwork. I want to make this into a sticker to put on the phone case. And I said, okay, we can do that. And it's just a sweet little kid, and it was like her rendition of this piece of art, the turtle with the tree, right? It's a little girl, like 5-year-old girls.
6.
And so she asked one of my staff, somebody working in the office, to put it up on she wanted to make a little note, so she asked how to spell the words, and she wrote it down, phone case coming soon, and got a little piece of tape, and she taped it on the front door of the studio. This little 5-year-old's little note, and decided again to tried to turn that into that I was stealing his artwork and his wife's personal artwork and trying to capitalize on them as if I was trying to take advantage of them. This is the farthest thing from the truth. I did everything I could to support him and his missus and to do something different. I even gave him all the equipment to have a cafe. I gave him $1,000. They were over $1,000. The coffee machines and everything. I just gave it to him as a gift. Here you go. What he did to me was afterward, when all this was going on, he brought them to my house, and he didn't tell me that he was doing that. And he sat them in a box directly behind my vehicle, so that where I couldn't see it. I suspect and hopes that so when I back up, I drive over it. That was the kind of thing he did. He's a bit of a shithead. That's the kind of person. That's how I would describe that kind of a person, and that's what he did. Anyways. So I tried to address the issues with him and try to settle it down and whatever, and he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want there to be any opportunity to communicate and to find a solution. He just wanted to freak out, and he wanted to argue. And when I would text or call him, he would text me things and say, "Please don't contact me," blah, blah, blah. Like he would, he'd be a real Karen. I think that's what they call it today, a Karen, a whiny person, whatever. So, but he kept at it, and then and we were at the same time having regular meetings. Now we were trying to get our Mohawk Nation Council organized, and so we were having Zoom meetings and working on that. And he had sat in on some of those meetings, and then he was making all kind of complaints, and he was actively working with others to try to undermine the work we were doing, and saying that I had been abusive in my language with him, or I don't even know actually the kind of way he was talking. And finally, and it was bad mouthing me all over the place. And I finally reached out to his clan members, like within that group of people who between Six Nations and Kanenhariyo Turtle Clan people that we've been all working with, and said, listen, his conduct is interfering in our ability to move things forward, and I feel like we need to address this in accordance to our laws. And they agreed and said, well, if this persists, we may have to take more serious measures. And I said, okay, well, you talk to him, and then we may have to do that. And then he quieted right down, as far as I understood. And then he just kind of wandered off. He didn't seem to have any interest to continue to be moving forward with the group of people. But much the same as how he had conducted himself in the past, in his history, So I didn't think no more about it. I carried on with what I got to do, and maybe he'd talk shit a little bit or something, but whatever. That's when you, in our laws, when you take on a responsibility role on behalf for the people, they say that you gotta have your skin has got to be 7 spans thick. You gotta have thick skin, and the reason they say that is because people are going to always blame you and accuse you and be angry with you because they're feeling frustrated, or they, whatever. They're going to lie, or they're going to do whatever. So while he was doing those sort of things, I just simply kept my skin thick, and I didn't allow it to interfere in the work I had to do and continue. Right? So that's what happened, and unfortunately, I've come to realize that this fella has a pattern. And since then, I understand he's had a number of little business relationships with other people, because people have been coming to me in this last little while and telling me about the sort of things that happened to them. And he, accused the fella of using black magic or whatever, and then chased him off. It was the coffee guy that was supplying him with coffee, and another fellow. They had partnered up together. They were supposed to be doing I think they had like a little cannabis and edibles podcast. They were like, I think they were testing stuff or whatever. Nathan is his name. Hey, Nathan Thomas. He's a beautiful kid. He's talented, and I taught him when he was a teenager, Moog language. And anyways, they were doing their thing, and then that relationship broke apart, and then Andrew really badly slandered him and said all kind of bad things about him, and about his little business. He's doing infused foods, I think he might even been doing infused ice cream or something, which is pretty exciting, I like that. I like that he's being an entrepreneur. So this has been the ongoing thing, and I'm feeling like I should have spoke out about this earlier, and maybe I shouldn't have disregarded or maybe I should have took the kind of things he was saying about my position and my job in the nation, and also the things he was saying about other people more seriously. That there was actually having a damaging impact. But when I seen what they were saying about and stretching the truth about what happened with this woman making accusations about Skylar, and I read the TikTok, watched the videos, and I read the copies of the text messages that went on between them, and I see the story, and this little interaction that lasts a week that never was actually human interaction, just people texting each other and whatever. I realize that this is a horrible thing to use that and to accost this man who's been fighting for my nation for decades, and stand out and protecting our land and standing shoulder to shoulder with me, crazy shit go on, and being badmouthed by a guy who ran over near the tracks to take a selfie and then went back home. And then when I realized that this fella was really the instigator in what happened to divide the entire community here in Kanenhariyo and split the longhouse. He's the one that says, oh, she's the one that did this. She put graveyard dust on the council. She's trying to cause this. And then it caused a commotion. He's the heart of that, He may not be entirely to blame. I think there's lots of factors. But that's serious. And it came to a realization for me that this fella has a pattern, and he's causing damage and harm all over the place. And I didn't even bring up the stuff that he was accused of, things that he was accused of and whatever. And I don't know, maybe that'll have to come to light as well. I took his word for it, what he said to me about how I got handled, and that he was accused of some things, and that it went to court, and he was acquitted about it. It was came to be not true, and so he got released of that trouble. And now, in retrospect, I got no choice but to go and investigate that, because when I see all the other things and see the lies and the mistruth and the stretching things out and trying to turn people against me or against other people, and even to falsify my little daughter's little paper sticker on a glass door and turn that into that I'm abusing my power and trying to steal his family's business and take his and to take their artwork and to that's horrible. It's a wrong thing. And I couple that with this understanding about this model of slandering as a way to create public attention and then gain viewership that you can generate into clicks and into views that you can then sell as marketable for advertisers to want to buy ads on your content so that you can generate revenue. That's like the mental illness of capitalism. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman. I've always for most of my life, worked for myself and found ways to be able to take care of myself. And I didn't have a job in the traditional sense or the Western model sense, I guess. So, like, I'm not against marketing and that sort of things, but to purposely go out to slander and to damage people that if you talk about them will get more attention on you as your business model, that in its very core is completely against what our ancestors told us about Kanenhariyo and about Gazastansara and about Skana. It's completely against the very ethics of our culture, that our ancestors, the Kanenhariyo. And I hear him talking on that goofy name, the Credible Mohawk. There's nothing credible about that guy. That they're spouting off the law. But that's not what our ancestors passed. That's not the things that the people around him that were trying to teach him another way. That's not what the kind of things they talked about. I don't know where that comes from, but I feel like I had to speak about it, and I feel like this fellow's he's caused so much damage that we might need to have to take this time now and call a big meeting our people, because it's spilled over in 2 communities and it's actively working at hacking away at the roots of our tree. That's what you call that. So with their kanyos, he's cutting away the roots of the tree on them. That's a crime in our laws, and it's where one goes to actively work to take away the shelter of Kanenhariyo for the people, to knock the tree over. And when you actively work to undermine the leadership and the way the system of our laws work, and to lie about it, and then to spread the kind of rumors and be deceitful, this is not our way. That's not our culture. Yeah, and Wahetka. It's ugly, and so I feel like it's a tough time right now because we're in this pandemic time and people are reluctant to come together and have a meeting, but it's our culture to gather and come together and meet on this topic and address it, But maybe we can take this horrible incident and we can turn it into something positive. Maybe we can use this as an opportunity to heal one another a bit, and maybe we can use this as an opportunity to pull the community together and to address this deep issues that cause in the Longhouse community here in Gantege a massive division, and maybe we can use that as the opportunity to bring the people together and fix that. I don't know. Sometimes rehashing all the things only just reopens the wounds and makes it all fester, but sometimes you got to do that so that everybody understands how they perceive the ways in which the thing unfolded, and so maybe people they perceived what they seen happening to mean different things, and so when all the parties get a chance to say that, then you get a clear picture of what happened, instead of calling the other one a liar or whatever, right? So I just sharing what I seen, what I was a part of, what I heard, and this is what I know about this fella. And I'm pretty upset with the way he's been acting, and the horrible things he said about me when I was good to him, and the kind of damage that he's causing in our nation. And I have a responsibility to protect along with other protect our people. And this guy's running around like he just has no regard, and he's causing harm. And so I got no use for some ex-white supremacist telling us what our laws are. That's no ally of mine or my nation's. And Andrew's fostering this group of people who don't know anything to be around him, like his protectors, and to speak for him and those sort of things. And this aren't our people. This ain't our way. Yeah, yung guardijones. And there's no more to be said. And I don't know if I covered all the topics. There were so many layers to this. But I feel like it needed to be talked about, and it needed to be put out there in the public. And I have a suspicion that this is gonna enrage him. That he's gonna lash out at me now because I've said it. What happened? And there might be some others. There might be some other enemies of mine that speak out. They're not gonna like the story that I just told. What happened? What I recall. But I gave you all the breadcrumbs and the names of who the people were that were there. I made a mistake earlier. I said Shelley Brant, and it wasn't. It was her name is Shelley Brinklow. She actually is Shelley Hill now, but I mixed up my words when I was talking, and so I don't want to mislead anybody. She was president of the meeting when the women were meeting, and the Bear Clan and Wolf Clan broke apart and talked to one another. That's all the things that happened. There's been a lot more history, of course, and there's a lot of other things that happened. At one point, we had a meeting, and we went over to that longhouse that got built. And there's a building that got built on Sadie's Lane, and that wasn't the location that was selected by the longhouse people to put the longhouse up. But after this division, some of the people, because we continued to use the longhouse property, burying people up there. The longhouse property is a piece of property that was taken from the band council. It was the first land back. Well, not the first one, but that I was a part of, and I was just a teenager. And 300 and some acres of land, and they took it back from the band council. No, we're going to take care of this. It was one of the first or the last pieces of property that got returned back to the Mohawks here at the Bay of Quinte during the land claim negotiations. And before the Culbertson tracks, and so they built another building on a private land, and they have their longhouse over there, do their business over there, and I haven't been over there very many times, a handful of times maybe. There's some sort of thing that's going on, and certainly I've been on occasion made to not feel too welcome, but I understand that we got a division, and also there's a lot of people that weren't there when all that stuff happened, so they only know the story they got told, for whatever reason, and some of that story I told you about the wampum and graveyard dust and stuff and division and all those things. Some of it I got blamed for, and I think that people thought that I orchestrated that. There were some people who thought that Kanenhariyo wasn't very smart. He wasn't a bright enough guy to figure that out and to do those things on his own. But I was his friend for a long time, and he was a war chief, and I know that he's a very bright man. I don't tend to like to be surrounded by dummies. I like to be surrounded by people who have an intelligence, and he's the smartest one of all of his family members that I know. And he's a clever fella. But they didn't want to believe that. Some people didn't want to believe that he understood our laws and understood what was going on, and so they blamed me. I was behind it. I wasn't. I got called to. He called me to his house to tell me what's going on. I wasn't orchestrating anything. That's not how I handle things. And so even now, I made a Los Caragete website, and I posted all the previous war chiefs and pictures of them and stories of them. I even posted him up on there, and as a honor him. He did work for our nation, and he did a good job. And until he still until he stopped going, until he wouldn't go to the meetings anymore. And we have expression in our language. I'm trying to remember how do you say it, like it slipped my mind now. It means his mind got pierced. Like some horrible things happened and it pierced his mind. And he couldn't go back and sit with everybody. And it had to do with people talking to the police and giving information and stuff to do with Fantino and when the 401 got closed and all that stuff. But I don't want to uncover all of that, I guess all I'm saying is he reached out to me and he asked me to take his name down and take his pictures down off that Facebook page because he didn't want to have to deal with the fallout of the whatever nasty things people were going to say or attacks on him. And, some people say, oh well, he's afraid that'll have an impact on his business, and I don't think he's really concerned about that. But that's what happened, and so I respected his request, and I took his pictures and his name and stuff down off the Sha'tekayenton Facebook page, even though he should be up there, because I respected his request. But he is a part of this history and this story, and so I can't leave him out of that. He was a player, and he's the one that kicked that lady out. He was the one that had that responsibility at that time, and he handled it in that way, and so that's what happened. Took her name, and then that caused a big harm. That caused a real lot of pain in our community, and I think that it's an opportunity for us to learn from that. I sort of think that's something that we should be as a nation coming together to meet about. Maybe we talk about Sha'tekayenton, or maybe we don't. But what I think we should talk about is about witch hunting and about using readers and accusing people of bad medicine and using that as to weaponize and to harm people and to be chasing people out. And I think that we should pass a law and add another rafter to our great law that we not ever do that. That not be a part of the decision. Maybe someone's actively working to hack away at the tree, and maybe someone's committing espionage and sharing information with our enemies, and those certainly are things that we need to deal with and not allow that to happen, and to deal with it fiercely. But accusations of bad medicine and witchcraft and stuff, I seen what that happens, and I seen the impact of that had in the community. And there's no way to prove any of that. There's no evidence to that. There's nothing tangible for that. And what it caused was a great deal of harm and hurt and pain. And I think that we were a young community revitalizing our governance structure, and I don't know that we handled that in the best manner of all the clans together, or that maybe we didn't have the skills to articulate the whole thing with each other, or maybe there were actors that had a sinister agenda and used that as a means to try to achieve that agenda. I don't know, but I believe that that's something that we need to look at, and that we need to consider adding a rafter to our laws, that we not ever do that again. That we not use this bad medicine as a way to chastise and to harm people. I just think that we should consider, using this opportunity. It's like when you're fighting and someone's coming at you, and the momentum is going to knock you over. You can let them knock you over, or you can get a hold of it, that momentum, and turn your body and use that to your advantage. And I think that we should take this opportunity, this attacks on myself and the attacks on Skylar, and of course we're hearing attacks on Slato, and we're hearing attacks on all these different leaders who are championing resistance and fighting back. And instead of allowing that to be an opportunity for the enemies to run us over, that we grab a hold of that and we turn that around, and that we look at this individual who accused way back then about witchcraft and what the impact that had in the community here, in the nation, and multiple times since then. And other readers do it too sometimes. You go see a reader and, so-and-so is putting bad medicine on you. And maybe they might even tell you that person's name and stuff. And I see what that causes and the turmoil amongst the people. So I think maybe that's an opportunity that we could look at having a big nation meeting. Even if it's just the Kanenhariyo, maybe the other nations, maybe they still want to hang on to that. Maybe they're still practicing certain form of, superstition that supports that or it works. But for the Kanenhariyo people, I don't think it's a positive. And maybe this is an opportunity for us to gather together and man a rafter to the Kanenhariyo, or even amongst our own. Or maybe we bring it to the Confederacy to say, let's not ever use this as a means or a way or a part of how we make a decision about what we're going to do in our council and how we're going to deal with our people. And long time ago, not long ago, 5 or 6 years ago, there was a meeting here over at Sadie's Lane at the Longhouse over there, and I attended it. And there was men come from multiple communities, and even the Oneidas came. And I spoke at that meeting, and I got up and I asked the Oneidas. I told the story about what happened here, that the community got divided, the Longhouse people got divided, and we're not divided. Almost all the other Mohawk communities are division. They got split between the people who want to follow only Kanenhariyo and the people that want to follow the Handsome Light Code. And we don't have that division here. That's not what happened in Kanenhariyo. That's not happening in Kanenhariyo. We're fighting over how we get along with each other, and maybe a little bit people that want to be fully independent and people that maybe they want to get some of the program money. There might be that, but it's more so this story I told you about this accusations of bad medicine and harm on each other. And so I told that story briefly, and I asked the Oneidas that if they would be willing to come to help us, to come here and to do a big condolence for us, to wipe away the tears of trauma and the trauma and the pain that we caused each other, so that we were able to wipe our eyes clear and take the dirt out of our ears so we could hear each other and take that cloud away from above our heads so that we can see the sunshine when we see one another, and so that we're able to embrace one another again, and so that we can move forward and save that and to repair the damage that was caused in our community. And what happened was a few weeks later, a week or so later, I got a letter delivered to me by old man Patrick, and he brought this letter, and they said in the letter that they were aware that I was back home in Kanenhariyo, but that I wasn't welcome at the Longhouse, at their Longhouse. That's what happened. And I said, Patrick, you know that they can't do that. He says, I know, I told them that. He said, but they insisted, and he says, just let's have a meeting, let's go and we'll get it sorted out. But I was hurt, and that hurt my feelings, because the people that signed that were the very people that asked me to come home to help teach Mohawk, and signed a contract for me and leave Six Nations and leave my home and my family, come here to work. And then the same signers of the contract signing the letters telling me that I'm not welcome in my own community, and not welcome in the Longhouse community that they're a part of, when I was asking for us to heal the damage between us. So I recognize and understand the depth of this sort of stuff can impact, and so that's why I think that I should have dealt with that then when Patrick said something. And there's been other instances where I should have went and I should have said, let's scab this out, let's deal with it, let's face it, But the trauma from that was hard, and I I chose to be quiet, And then when Andrew Brant has been going on, this has been going on for a year now, slandering me and slandering the war chief position and slandering the way our system works and lying about how our governance structure has been organized over here and what's actually happening, I realized that I made a mistake in not addressing it right away. And so I heard my brother Skylar apologize twice in the last 2 days, and he apologized if there was anything that he did. He didn't mean to cause anybody any upset or harm. And then he apologized again that he made some poor choices that have had a negative impact on his wife and on his kids and his family, and that the pressure of the things he'd been facing for the last few years may have impacted his way of thinking or whatever, Well, I realized that I needed to apologize, that I didn't deal with this right away, and I'm sorry that I didn't, because maybe the kind of hurt and pain that's been caused now by this brat and his white supremacist friend and this girl that's spreading rumor, alluding to things there's no evidence, and the so-called other one, and I know that about that story, and I don't want to bring it up, but if it gets brought up, I will. And anyways, I think that we need to use this as an opportunity to come together and to love one another and to find solutions. And we need to accept the fact that we have people amongst us who are not interested in us healing and not interested in Kanenhariyo rising to the surface and not interested in indigenous people, our peoples, having control and responsibility over our territory. And there are people amongst us who want the Indian Act to stay, and that they believe the depth of our culture is to have a song and a dance and a ceremony and not all the rest of it. And those people are acting as enemies against our people and our nations because they're working against it, because they are comfortable or afraid. They're comfortable with the way it is, or they're afraid of the change, but it's here. And there's been lots of us working on this for a long time. So that's the best that I can tell that. Maybe there'll be more that comes out. Maybe people are going to ask to have a trial. There's a way to have a trial. We have in the Kanenhariyo, it tells us how to do that. How the people meet and hear out all of the evidence and then come to a decision about it all together. They even set aside how many days it's supposed to be happen. Those elders still remember. I know, I remember. I heard them talking about it. And if that's what we got to do, okay. There was and if we got to come together and decide to add a rafter so that this sort of thing doesn't happen anymore, then we need to talk about that. And maybe we need to further flush out, discuss how do we deal with these people that are using the Western models of shit talking and character assassinations, and what do we do about solutions to deal with that? Because the other thing is the kind of accusations that are being made, they're serious. And I don't want to take away from people being afraid to say this happened to me, right? But there's a process to deal with that and a way to go forward with that in our clans and in our clan mothers and in our system. And whether you choose to use that system or whether you choose to go to the Western culture and the police or whomever and say this has happened to me, then that's what's got to get done, But but using it as a to weaponize and falsify information to discredit and to hurt people's character, that's not okay. That's not the way to do things, and we need to come down hard on that so it doesn't. So those people that do that don't feel like they won or got something. Anyways, that's all I got to say, and Kanenhariyo.